And so we come to the third and final group stage matches, and do not adjust your screens, be they computer or phone. The matchups that you see are not what are about to take place. We'll get to that in a minute, but in the meantime, this is Metafiction, and this is going to be a nail-biter of a final day, as Pyrenees take on Oceania, and the Alpine Federation takes on the United States in Group C. And then in Group D, West Africa will face Benelux, but not before the British Isles take on East Africa. Qualification on the line. None of these teams have punched their ticket yet, so there's still a lot to play for in every single match. We start off with the first match of the day, that being, of course, Pyrenees versus Oceania, and Pyrenees have the easiest path of the Group C sides in that they just need a draw. That's all they need, is a point in order to secure their qualification. Meanwhile, Oceania will, of course, like a win, as that makes it a lot easier, but they could also be through with a draw if the United States loses. Meanwhile, in the Alpine versus USA match, the USA really needs Oceania to draw or lose, as they need to match or better Oceania's result. And even then, it's not a sure thing. But we will get to that match later on as we look at our first match, which is, of course, Pyrenees versus Oceania. Remember, Pyrenees just need a draw, but of course they'll be looking for a win in order to give themselves the top seed in the group. In the knockouts, the top seeds will be drawn against the second place teams. So finishing top of your group, of course, means a slightly more manageable road to the final. It is immediately Pyrenees on the attack. Cotswold. And Bonito sending it back. Here's Cotswold again. Past Nelson, gets around, and that is going to be a corner kick. Cotswold sends the corner in, it's headed up and sent away. And now here comes Stroh, but cut off on the counter there. Criminal. Bonito. Dybala takes the shot, and it's blocked. So another corner kick incoming for Pyrenees. That one headed up and away. And that one will come to nothing. These third match days in the WSFC, always a source of heightened tension. Even if your side has a very narrow path to qualification, until you're mathematically eliminated, you still have a chance. Of course, that is how mathematical elimination works, but nevertheless, the point being, there's no reason to let up. Oceania may be a little bit behind the 8 ball, but they are coming forward here. McManus sends it in, and that was ultimately pushed away by the goalkeeper. Drio finding Cotswold there. Fry cutting inside, and Julian Rubio might have just broken the level. Depending, of course, on VAR. And it will indeed stand. The Pyrenees are up 1-0 on Oceania. It was a really good move there. Cotswold finding the open player, and Rubio had plenty of space to fire that home. There you see, just onside, that was the source of the VAR check. And Pyrenees threatening to go 3 for 3 in this group stage. Cotswold taking the touch. It's sent out, but the referee giving a penalty, and that could very quickly double the advantage for Pyrenees. Pyrenees won 4-1 last time out over the United States. Of course, won on the opening day against the Alpine Federation as well. Penalty here, though, not given, and so the advantage remains 1-0 to Pyrenees Union. Cotswold sends this corner in, and that's headed just wide. And of course, Oceania, with that 1-0 victory over the Alpine Federation last time out, gave them a lifeline in this group, but they need to get something from this match to have any hope of qualification. That cross goes in, but it's headed away by Barrera Strangin, but it's back to Lee, who takes the shot, and that's off the side netting. A draw here would put them on 4 points from the group stage. Not secure, but could be enough if the United States were to lose to Alpine later on. Ball worked ahead to Fry. Forced into the corner. Kawasaki applying the pressure to send it back to Cotswold, who now dribbles into the center of the pitch, and that shot by Criminal held by Calvin Ball. Eilish to Kawasaki. McManus dispossessed by Rubio. A swooping challenge from behind there. Cotswold forward to Fry. Fry crosses it, and that's over the bar. Remember, Pyrenees needing only a draw, but are currently winning. As one of the tournament favorites, they would be looking for a 3-for-3 group stage to give themselves the best possible chance in the knockout draw. Man is sending it back to Eilish. Oceania looking to get at least a point from this match. Ideally all three. If they were to win this, that would put them on 6 points, level with Pyrenees, making it harder for the United States and impossible for the Alpine Federation to qualify. That's a driving challenge from Cormier, but the referee's given a penalty. And this would be a huge moment in the match just before halftime. He's heading over to the monitor. If this is a penalty, Oceania could have the chance to level it. And the decision is no penalty. It is not given. And Pyrenees breathe a sigh of relief. That could have been a huge blow just before the half. In the meantime, Oceania hardly cowed, continuing to press forward with the attack as McManus dribbling around the defense and wins the corner kick. Shirley fired up now. Oceania with the corner, sending it far post, and that's headed right at the goalkeeper, and that's another corner kick. That was a dangerous shot just then, as another corner kick from Lee floats in far post. Doesn't find anybody, and Cotswold sending it out of danger. And that will be the totality of the first half. Pyrenees looking a little bit shocked there at the end of that first half. Could have easily conceded a goal if that had been given as a penalty, but as it stands, lead 1-0 at the break. Oceania with a bit of a slow start, it has to be said, but have really come to life later on in that half. Could be very good value to get something in the second half if they can continue that momentum. It's going to be a very tense halftime period for both of these sides. You have to wonder what you say to your players in a situation like this. Second half is underway, and it's Lee for Oceania to deliver the corner. They came so close to scoring at the end of the first half. Now they float in a corner, and it falls to Evil, and it's another corner on the opposite side, off of the block. Now it's McManus to take this time. This time opting to send it out to the edge of the area, and Evil lashing it right at the keeper. And Oceania with a free kick, now enjoying the ascendancy at the moment. Lee bringing it in. Hoppity, the substitute. Getting inside. Dispossessed, and now Pyrenees can come forward. It's a long pass, only finding Eilish. It looked like it was intended for Rubio making the run, but Eilish was there to stop it. Nelson dispossessed there by Pedrillo. Pedrillo with the shot, and that just goes wide. What a moment that could have been. And they've been dispossessed again. Rubio to Dybala, who once again just misses. The Pyrenees doing some very good pressing work in the attacking third. They managed to knock it loose from Oceania a couple of times and now find themselves with a corner. One's headed in the air. Cotswold inside. Pedrillo. Dybala! Well, as it stands, Pyrenees atop the mountain that is Group C. Let's look at that again. Cotswold sending that in. A bit of a bobble. Strongine sends it back to Cotswold. Pedrillo's shot blocked. Dybala's was not. Great awareness by Dybala to make it 2-0. And all of that resolve that Oceania showed at the end of the first half and the beginning of this one seems to have fizzled now. They do still come forward, but are forced back here immediately. They've got an even bigger hole to climb out of. Partner Magul carrying it up the far wing. Crossed inside. And the shot there from Nelson blocked. Now Pyrenees bringing it forward, but dispossessed by Lee. 15 minutes to play. Pyrenees up 2-0 on Oceania. And Oceania's hopes of qualification fading fast as that shot by Pyrenees just over the bar. Cotswold with the shot and forcing a corner kick. Less than 10 to play. Pyrenees clearly not comfortable with a 2-goal lead, trying to extend it as far as they can, trying to cement their supremacy in this group. That shot from Pedrillo over the bar. Bonito under pressure. Hoppity trying to get the foot in. Dybala lays it off. Cotswold with a shot, but it's blocked. Fry dribbling into the box, gets to the end line, but can't keep the cross inbounds. Cotswold. And Magul sends it out. And as I alluded to, this result putting Pyrenees top of Group C. and certainly qualified, regardless of what happens in the match between the United States and the Alpine Federation. The VAR has given a penalty here to Pyrenees, or the referee has. VAR is checking, rather. Won't really affect the overall result, but might affect goal difference should it come to that. Penalty not given, and that, I believe, is the third penalty that has been ruled out so far this match. And ball dispossessed by Rubio, but couldn't quite make it count. Cotswold forced back now. Trying again. Pedrillo shoots, and that's behind for another corner. Bit of a header battle, nearly falling to Shoga Benito. Would have been an absolute gimme if it had fallen to them, but it does not. Only seconds remain. Pyrenees surely content to just see this one out. They know they're through. Oceania know they're out. And there is the final whistle. Pyrenees, 3 wins from 3 in Group C, have absolutely qualified in dominant fashion. Goals from Rubio and Dybala, the latter of whom is your player of the match. Overall, an excellent performance by Pyrenees. Deservedly through. Oceania giving it everything they had. A spirited effort. Looked very close to scoring during the middle portion of that match, but ultimately fell short and will be going home. And so that is one half of Group C settled. Pyrenees Union will be through. Oceania, barring some sort of tiebreaker miracle, going home. And now to settle accounts in the other half of Group C, it is Alpine Federation and the United States. USA now knowing that with the loss of Oceania, a draw would see them through. Alpine, meanwhile, would need a win to even have a chance, and at that point, it would come down to tiebreakers. Of course, I don't really know how the tiebreakers shake out, but if it comes to that, well, I suppose we'll find out if that's the case, but at the moment, the USA, knowing that a draw would be enough, but surely will be pushing for a win to give themselves peace of mind. USA, of course, victorious against Oceania on match day 1, but then were defeated by Pyrenees on match day number 2. Meanwhile, the Alpine Federation, having lost to both Pyrenees and Oceania, go into this match day on 0 points from the group. For them to qualify at this point would be, quite frankly, a miracle, but we do know in the SSL, miracles can happen. USA once again coming out in the 3 at the back. There you see confirmation that Pyrenees have qualified. It's more than likely that one of these two teams will join them. USA with the first set piece. It is Van de Ven standing over the free kick, sent into the box but headed away. Del Vecchio with a good run up the wing, crossing inside. And Del Pirlo went down in the box, and the referee's given a penalty. And that is the one thing the United States did not need. Remember, a draw at this stage would be enough, but a loss could very well see them out, as the referee has confirmed the penalty. Habjanic standing over it in the second minute. And it's saved! A big save by William Williams. And is that a sign of things to come, as that corner headed right at Williams again? Well, right out of the gate, the Alpine Federation sending heart palpitations throughout the entirety of the U.S. contingent as we remain 0-0. Del Pirlo, dispossessed, and now here comes power. Van de Ven. Worked back to McFootcakes. USA trying to be patient in their build-up here. Out wide to Greer. Johnson back to Greer. Power shoots, and that one didn't have much velocity on it. Twinkle Toes holds on. Del Vecchio standing over the corner for Alpine. Near post, headed up into the air. Del Vecchio again puts it in, and that's headed away. Moretti. And Alpine winning the corner again. I believe that was Santori responsible for that. Near post as Chambers heads clear. Long ball forward from Caetano. Lands with Santori. Del Vecchio. Caetano takes the shot, and that's tipped over. Williams being called into action once again. Del Vecchio's corner once again headed out. Greer now with a corner for the United States. Their first real moment since the beginning of this match, as that's headed just over the bar. Last tournament, the United States were dumped out of the group stage, failing to secure a point. Are Alpine about to suffer that same fate, or will the USA once again suffer an ignominious elimination? Here comes Santori. Ball worked inside as Alessandro Del Pirlo might have just broken the deadlock. Referee is consulting VAR, and it is given. Santori cut back. Del Vecchio finding Voda in a lot of space, and it looks like they're going to rule that it took a deflection off of Del Pirlo to get past Williams. And so a huge goal for Alpine. And that shot by Tony Del Vecchio instantly doubles Alpine's advantage. Alpine with a 1-2 punch that might have just knocked USA out. Well, how do you respond to that? An excellent bit of footballing there from Alpine. And the Americans now in serious danger. Going to have to find something here as halftime nears. Ball will find its way out to Angry Lizard. Cross at the end line. It's rebuffed. Sent back in. Lizard again. And that's rebuffed once more. Now McFootcakes coming back from central defense. Puts the cross in. Headed right at the goalkeeper. And so, at the half, Alpine Federation with a 2-0 lead to the United States. Alpine having not won a match, having not recorded a point in the group stage, find themselves potentially in the driver's seat to advance in the most unexpected, unlikely fashion we might have ever seen at this tournament. I can't imagine it will be pleasant listening in that United States locker room at the half. Certainly they will have expected, and a lot of other people will have expected them to have been the favorites today, but finding themselves in a big hole, needing to at least level the scores. Of course, it all comes down to tiebreakers at the moment. And being a humanities major, I wouldn't know what those are, but Pirlo getting behind the defense if he's not offside. Might have been a little too early on the trigger there. And it will be ruled out. Good news for the United States, who really couldn't have used another conceded goal, but it was a very close thing if you saw there on the replay. And now here's Greer with a corner kick, needing to produce something for the United States. Potentially his last WSFC match, if this holds. Certainly going to want to try and get his team a chance to compete for that title. They need at least a draw to be safe, otherwise it comes down to tiebreakers. Fantabins crosses in, headed home by Cade Power. And there's life in them yet. The United States cut the deficit to 1. It's a great header by Power. Just skimming the underside of the bar and going in. And that's exactly what they needed at this stage. Alpine still with the 2-1 lead, still playing well, but the United States might be waking up here. Lizard cuts it inside. Fantabin sending it back. Some good pressure by Alpine, but they've found a way through, have the United States. Greer inside to Pete Martell. But will it stand? Was Pete Martell onside? VAR's having a look at it. This would be a huge moment, but it's not going to count. Greer getting the pass, and Martell was indeed well offside. "20 minutes left to go. The United States need another goal to level this. The Alpine Federation looking to hold on to this lead if they want any chance of qualifying. Lizard crosses in, and that's scored by Pete Martell, and this one's going to count. As Pete Martell just made himself an American hero. Lizard with a great cross in, and Martell hits it right between the legs of Twinkle Toes. And it is Alpine 2, United States 2. United States through with just a draw thanks to Oceania losing earlier, but here's Voda coming forward for Alpine, and it's ultimately sent clear, but Alpine still with it. Habjanic. Del Vecchio. Crosses in, and it's Alessandro Del Pirlo! Del Pirlo with a second on the day. And that could be huge. Alpine back in the lead. Let's look at it again. Del Vecchio crossing it, and Del Pirlo in exactly the right position to hammer it home from close range. And with 10 minutes to play, the United States once again find themselves trailing. Once again, they need a goal in order to get the draw that will send them through. Through ball to Van de Ven, finds Martel. Already got one, won't get a second. Now Greer with the corner. Sending it near post, headed up into the air, and Voda clears it. Time very much against the Americans. We're into added time, 3 minutes of it. 3 minutes the United States has to punch their ticket. 3 minutes that Alpine have to hold on. This would be a massive victory for Alpine. Depending on how tiebreakers shake out, that goal by Del Pirlo could have just put them through. Quartista cutting it back to Caetano, and then Santori with the putback, and Williams holds on to it. I'm still ticking down. And I don't think the United States have one more chance, it looks like. Greer on the corner. Sent near post. And that's held by Twinkle Toes. And Alpine surely just need to see out the last seconds here to send it to tiebreakers. Greer. Forward. Power can't hold on to it. Del Vecchio sends it back to the keeper. You can hear the whistles in the stadium. And that is it. Alpine Federation hadn't scored a single point in the group stage. 2 losses to this point. But now with a famous victory, 3-2 over the United States. Powered by a brace from Alessandro Del Pirlo, your player of the match. Tony Del Vecchio also with a goal to provide the margin. We'll have to consult the tiebreakers a little later on to see whether that's enough to send them through, but regardless, a heroic effort from the Alpine Federation. There were goals from Cade Power and Pete Martel for the United States, but they failed to get the point they needed and are now at the mercy of the math. Never a fun place to be. And we'll check back with that at the end of the broadcast just to confirm the situation in Group C. We know Pyrenees Union are through, but beyond that, it's in the hands of the numbers now. In the meantime, we move on to Group D, where, as we said earlier, the matches are a little bit shuffled from what they appear to be here on this screen. British Isles will take on East Africa first, followed by West Africa playing Benelux. Of course, British Isles had been considered one of the favorites to win this tournament, but then on match day 2, after losing 4-0 to Benelux, find themselves in a little bit of jeopardy. They are currently second in the group on goal difference over East Africa, but having to play East Africa means that could change in a hurry. East Africa knows that they will have to really step it up. They have to put a real hurt on British Isles in order to qualify. At the moment, it is a 6-goal swing. The British Isles on 5 goals to the good. East Africa on -1. Of course, East Africa wins. If East Africa wins, of course, then they are through. Any other result, and it's the British Isles. So it is all to play for here in Group D. It's East Africa with the first real chance. The cross within the first minute. Never mind that, within the first 20 seconds. Miko Rashford the second puts East Africa in the lead. That might be the fastest goal in WSFC history, and it makes the score British Isles 0, East Africa 1. And right out of the gate, East Africa understanding the assignment. It's Scott dispossessing high up the pitch and very nearly manufacturing a chance. Now East Africa losing out to Blackman there. Super Hoops sending it back. Now here's Head. Johnson mopping up the loose ball, sending it all the way back to the keeper. Johnson. Elliott takes a touch, finding Scott behind. Scott's shot blocked. And now we'll send in the corner kick. It's floated in and sent away. And that chance fizzles out for the British Isles. They've immediately found themselves under the gun, going to need to really dig in. We'll need somebody to check on whether that was indeed the fastest goal in the history of this tournament. It's certainly in contention, as here's Hunt with the corner for the Isles. Back out to Hunt here. Tries to cross in, but hits a defender and it's rebuffed. And that ball intercepted by Rashford. Rashford the third coming forward. Doug sends the cross in, and that's headed past the goalkeeper, and it's Rashford again. Well, will this stand? Was Rashford onside? VAR will confirm or deny. And the goal stands. So a brace from Miko Rashford II has given East Africa the early advantage here. It's a brilliant header, and Asprey beaten for the second time today off of that cross in, this time by Doug. And there you see Rashford just onside. It's a beautiful finish. Hunt sending it in, and it's headed away. And that shot, I believe that was Albinson, tipped over by Walverson. Hunt trying to find a teammate, and that's sent back. Albinson dispossessing Doug there. Head sending it forward. Now here's Blackman. Elliott forced back. Blackman finding Elliott again. Belmont inside, and that shot from Scott goes just wide, courtesy of, I believe that was the goalkeeper. Forward kick coming in from Hunt here. Calderon heads it away. Robinson bringing it back in, but it's sent all the way up the pitch. And now here comes Rashford on the break. Going to need some teammates in support and ultimately has to send it back. Remember, the British Isles, much like the United States just a moment ago, just need to tie. They'll be hoping for a better result than the United States got. Albertson puts the cross in for the Isles, and that is headed wide. Here's Hunt with another corner, as the British Isles have had most of the chances in the last few minutes. But that one sent over. Blackman. Now Super Hoops. Alvinson bringing it up the wing. Gets the end line, crosses, and that's rebuffed. And so that will bring us to halftime. East Africa leading 2-0 over the British Isles. Remember, the Isles needed a draw or better in order to qualify. But East Africa currently taking that second spot with a 2-0 lead. Right now, they are tied on points with Benelux. This result would effectively see Benelux through, it has to be said. Already fairly safe on 6 points with West Africa, their next opponent, but nevertheless, East Africa seeing their way through at the moment. The Isles will need to find some way to overturn this deficit to at least get level. They'll have 45 minutes to do it. They went into this tournament as one of the favorites to win it all. But now they could be on their way out. 3 substitutes for the Isles. You saw on the bottom of the screen as the second half gets underway. British Isles have 45 minutes to save their campaign in this tournament. Cross comes in. It's into the air. Scott can't get under it. Does now. Takes the shot at the near post, and Walrison with the kick save. Hunt to deliver another corner. And that one's headed away by Doug with very little trouble. Tut does bring it into possession, trying to weave through the defense, but nothing doing. And that one sent all the way back. And that shot from Doug goes way over. Grimes trying to pass forward, but it's intercepted by Johnson. Elliott crosses in, and that's headed right at Walrison. Bit of a scuffle in the box, and the referee has given a penalty. Now heading over to the monitor to confirm. There was a bit of a scrum in the 6-yard box. Kind of hard to make out what happened. VAR is looking at it. The referee potentially revising the decision. And the penalty not given. Could have been a huge chance for the British Isles, but they will come away from that empty-handed. Now Hunt with the corner kick, and that's sent away. Well, I had wondered which British Isles team was going to show up. The one that won on opening day or the one that lost 4-0 to Benelux. They do have a corner here, but as time fades away, I suspect the answer is starting to become a little clearer. Calderon intercepting that header, trying to bring it forward for a break, but ultimately disrupted. It's not for nothing. The British Isles have had the bulk of the chances, but have yet to put one in the net. Meanwhile, East Africa, with significantly less XG, find themselves 2 goals to the good. But here's Scott, worked forward, and that goal from Eric Belmont cuts into the lead. Is that the moment they were looking for? Scott took the touch, past the defender there. A 1-2 from Patterson to Belmont. A beautiful pass, a beautiful sequence, and a beautiful finish. And now the British Isles find themselves just 1 goal away from a potential qualification spot. Eager to prove that their last match was indeed a fluke. Here's Belmont cutting inside to Scott. Elliott takes the shot, and it's Dom Patterson heading it from close range, but was it too close? A very consequential decision from VAR incoming. And it will be ruled out. The goal will not stand. They have ruled offside. And it's a very close call. Patterson only a foot, if that, offside on that header. Well, I can't imagine fans back in the Isles will be too pleased with that position or that decision, but it will stand that the goal does not stand. East Africa trying to hold on to this lead. They've been ahead and good value for it for a lot of this match. As here's Derbatov getting in behind the defense. And that shot blocked behind by Hunt, off the post and behind for a corner. Looking to extend their lead back to 2 goals. This British Isles team so dangerous when they can actually get the finishes on target. And East Africa know it. Here's Super Hoops with the free kick. Hits it forward and had, I believe that was Belmont in the middle, but heading it over the bar. The Isles continuing to pile on the pressure as Hunt heads it, and that's right at Walrusen. And that had some real velocity behind it, but Walrusen able to hang on. And now Sterling Scott, one of their best finishers, coming off the field injured. That's the last thing the Isles needed. Only 10 minutes to play. And Sterling Scott, one of the British Isles' best strikers, best finishers really, will not be on the field for it. Well, it's a cruel turn in this match, but British Isles still coming forward nonetheless. Doug, forward to Rashford. Calderon. Puts the cross in, far post, and that's pushed behind by Asprey. East Africa can taste the knockout round. They're sending in the corner any second. Let's head it up in the air. And it's behind for another corner. The Isles having so many chances, but unable to make them count. And East Africa, with resolute defense, have rebuffed them almost every time. And now at the other end with a corner. And it's going to be a free kick. Less than 5 to play. Perhaps less than 5 minutes of tournament life left for the British Isles. Here's Moff. Dispossessed, but still forward. And there's the shot from Belmont! But now VAR consulted again. And it's disallowed again. Can you believe it? Another goal disallowed for the British Isles, and that is close. That is such a close decision. My goodness. Belmont just a bit offside, and that will disallow that goal that could have saved the British Isles. They're still down 1-2, but they do come forward here again. Here's Tutt. Takes the shot, and that's over. And time winding down. British Isles really running out of opportunities to get the ball up the pitch. They do here, though. Moff puts the cross in, and that one is claimed by Walrison. Walrison holding on, trying to bleed as much time off that clock as possible. Tutt. Johnson hitting it up the line, and now back into Tonto Tutt. And that's a shot from Super Hoops, and that goes over. 3 minutes of added time to play. 3 minutes for the British Isles to find an equalizer. But for the moment, it's East Africa with the ball. And there's Rashford carrying it up the far flank. Tutt intercepting, and now the ball comes forward. Cross comes in, finding its way to Belmont, and once again, at full stretch, Walrison reaching out to claim it. And that might be the last chance they had. We are in the 95th minute, and that is the final whistle. East Africa showing up when they needed to most, especially Miko Rashford II, your player of the match, with a brace that ultimately sees them topple the British Isles 2-1. And East Africa, with that victory, have claimed a knockout spot. British Isles were, as I said, one of the tournament favorites, but now will find themselves on the plane home. What a match that was. So many twists and turns. The British Isles fighting to the very last, but just coming up short in the waning moments. Now we move on to our final match of this part of the group phase, where Benelux will take on West Africa. Benelux already all but through. Will need to face off against West Africa. West Africa, of course, already eliminated. Can do nothing to change their fortunes at this stage, but would like to go home with at least something to hang their hat on. Have lost both of their matches so far with a minus 11 goal difference. It certainly has been a wonderful set of matches so far, and Group D is about to see its final match before the knockouts. Don't forget, Group A and Group B's final matches coming in a little bit later today. But for the moment, we travel to face or to witness West Africa facing Benelux. A team that has lost both of its matches versus a team that's won both of its matches. And there you see confirmation. Benelux are indeed already through mathematically, perhaps as a result of that previous match, but East Africa will join them. So the field from Group D is already set. Match doesn't really affect much in the way of determining who advances. Miedema bringing it forward, and that's ultimately rebuffed. Now Terrell trying to bring it forward, but that'll be a foul. There is, of course, the matter of goal difference. Should West Africa defeat Benelux by enough, it might be enough to knock them down to second in the group. As unlikely as that may be, it is something to consider. Still, Benelux not really needing to worry about making it, as that shot from from Banana, nearly getting past the keeper, but was offside. Hendry. Miedema turns, passes in, and that shot from Kovacs off the post. Well, the match may be effectively meaningless, but don't tell the Benelux players that. They've come out with an intent to shoot on sight. Grimace intercepting that pass, through ball, and that shot just wide, courtesy of a defender. And now Paya will send in the corner kick. It's headed up into the air, and it's behind for another corner. Well, Benelux really doing the dirty work of qualification in the last match day, where they defeated British Isles 4-0. After that, they were always going to be fairly safe, but it was only today that we got the mathematical confirmation, as that cross in from Grimace sent clear. Hefeweizen now potentially on the break here for Benelux. Miedema crosses in, and that shot from Van Eindhoven parried behind. Hendry descending the corner kick. And that makes its way through. Bit of a header battle, finding its way to Mulder. And the goalkeeper able to hold on. Buffoon with little trouble claiming that. Hendry now sending it into the middle. Hendry again takes the shot, and that's pushed behind. Hendry out to Mulder. Kovacs. Inside to Hercule Hefeweizen. And Benelux still firing on all cylinders, putting the goal past West Africa. Well, it's a great cutback by Kovacs to find Hefeweizen, and a great strike, and characteristically Benelux taking charge of this match. Hefeweizen carrying it forward to Damu, putting the challenge in, but the referee's blown for a penalty. Going over to the monitor to check. This would hand Benelux an opportunity to make it 2-0. But the penalty will not be given after review. West Africa in their own half. Adamu with the ball. Hits it forward. Urkel. Forward to Paya. Paya crosses in, and that's Freddie Adu with the equalizer. And out of nowhere, West Africa leveling this match. Let's look at it again. Urkel sent it to Paya, and it was a great job by Adu to get free of both Tetrella and Hefeweizen. And some really good finishing there has made it 1-1. Benelux caught napping there a little bit. Is it a sign of complacency, you have to wonder? Having already punched their ticket, is this a sign of potential worries in the knockout phase? But for the moment, Hendry sending in the corner, finds its way all the way out to Tetrella. And that shot from Kovacs wins another corner. West Africa trying to pass forward, but here is Hendry. De Groot forward to Mulder. Mulder brought down in the box. Referee says play on, no penalty. Long ball. Finds its way only as far as Kovacs. And now here comes Mulder. Mulder to the end line. Cuts it back. Hefeweizen. It's deflected behind. And now, bad to worse for West Africa as Ali Dia forced off with injury. They've been doing well to hold off the onslaught of Benelux, but that could be a huge blow as Lugnut Somnolentis replacing Dia. And at the half, it is 1-1. Benelux looking the likelier to pull ahead, but you have to give full credit to West Africa. Already eliminated going into these matches, but showing incredible fire. Doing very well to get the equalizer and finding themselves level with the team that is, as things stand, winning the group. So 45 minutes left to play here in Group D between Benelux and West Africa. Both these teams' fates already sealed as there are the changes on the bottom there for Benelux. Benelux already through, West Africa already going home. So these last 45 minutes, perhaps for Benelux, a chance to experiment with tactics, and for West Africa, a chance to earn some pride on the international stage. And of course, even though there's not much to play for at the moment, both teams still going to be going hell for leather, so to speak, as there's the through ball to Banana. And it's worked around to Mbumo. Aya sending it in, and that's headed in by Zaza Banana. And speaking of pride, West Africa pulling out to a 2-1 lead over Benelux. And it's a brilliantly worked set-piece routine that sees West Africa ahead now. And the questions about complacency for Benelux only growing louder at the moment. certainly in no danger of being eliminated at the moment, but you have to wonder if this is a sign of potential mental weakness ahead of the knockouts. They'll need to do something to dispel those rumors as that ball headed over. Certainly Benelux were one of the favorites. It was a bit of a tough group that they were handed, but they handled it well. Is this simply a matter of conserving energy for the knockouts, or are there danger signs here? Well, for the moment, Hefeweizen trying to pass into short, and Schwartz's shot is blocked. Aya to Urkel, keeping it in just. And the referee's given a penalty here, suggesting foul play in the area. VAR is reviewing it, and the penalty is given. West Africa now with a chance to make it 3-1. Zaza Banana to step up to the spot. And it will get past the goalkeeper, and West Africa up 3-1. Sending Slothenberg the wrong way. It's a well-taken penalty. And West Africa, it has to be said, deservedly up 3-1, although Ryan van Eindhoven gets one back almost immediately. Well, let's look at that free kick again. It was right into the wall, but it took a deflection that Gianluigi Buffon was not ready for. So Benelux cutting it back to a 1-goal deficit. That ball sent long. Now here's Lorenzo. Kovacs. Finding Mulder, and that's crossed in and sent clear. Now Adu potentially on the counter for West Africa. Outpacing Kovacs, puts the cross in, and it's headed out of the box. Van Eindhoven. Mulder. Switching play now, finding Short. Short with the cross, nearly got to the group, but Adamu able to take enough speed off of it for Buffon to hold on to. Adamu also perhaps in his final WSFC. Here's De Groot taking the shot, and that skims the side netting. 30 minutes left to play for Benelux and West Africa. Haya sends it in, and that's headed away. Only as far as Terrell. Now De Groot scooping it up. Mulder with a long run from midfield into the West Africa half. Van Eindhoven. Berenson. Good for a screamer or two we've seen in the past, as that ball headed into the hands of Buffon. Ron Flex sending it back. Kovacs. Mulder cutting inside to De Groot. De Groot shoots, and that's tipped over. Benelux pushing to equalize and potentially get a winner, even though the points on offer no longer matter. They're still looking to end this group stage on a high note. Berenson, Petrella, and Adamu clears. Terrell. Adu finding Urkel, and now the run from Banana. Petrella nearly losing possession, but ultimately Benelux still with it. Mulder comes forward. Kovacs. Cross goes in, and that's headed away. Still with Schwartz. Cross back in, and that one hits the bar and goes over. Benelux with a chance similar to Pyrenees to go 3 for 3 from the group stage, but hadn't had success until that moment as Arc de Trella levels it, making it 3-3. Well, it's another beautiful corner. De Trella just getting up over Buffoon. And West Africa's lead is now gone. Less than 20 minutes to play. Will these teams play for a draw, or will one of them get a winner? As here's Hefeweizen bringing it forward for Benelux. Takes the shot. It's off the post. Palmed onto it by Buffoon, I believe. And that chance ultimately comes to nothing. Urkel's hitting it back. Grimace. Now Adamu. Grimace can't quite, does actually chase it down. Palmed away by Slothenberg. Nearly a dangerous moment for West Africa, but couldn't quite bring it in. And now here comes Mulder. Mulder takes the shot, and it is blocked behind for a goal, or for a corner kick, excuse me. Send far post, and that's headed in by Arc de Trella. And with just over 10 minutes to go, Benelux have come all the way back to take the lead. Well, questions asked and answered about their mental fortitude. It looked like they weren't at the races, but ultimately have pulled ahead here. Minutes to play. Terrell. And it falls. And Steven Urkel has leveled it again if VAR allows it. What a match this has been. VAR looking at it. Has West Africa taken a point they might have just done, because that goal will stand. It came in off the free kick, and Urkel able to put the second attempt past the goalkeeper. There's a question of offside. It's very tight. VAR didn't see any clear and obvious error, and so it is 4-4. And as the time ticks down on what has been a phenomenal final match in Group D, it's looking more and more likely that it will be even honors. And there indeed is the final whistle, the final score, West Africa 4, Benelux 4. Arc de Trella is your player of the match for Benelux with a brace. Goals also by Hefeweizen and by Eindhoven. Zaza Banana with a brace of their own for West Africa, as well as goals from Freddie Adu and right at the end, Steven Urkel. A phenomenally entertaining final match. Benelux, of course, were through no matter what happened today. And West Africa able to at least manage a point from their final match of the tournament. Overall, a very exciting spectacle, and certainly a worthy draw. Both teams really leaving it all on the pitch. But there is still the matter of Group C to resolve. Remember, Alpine Federation beating the United States to send it to tiebreaker. We'll have to see what the result is. And there you see it. Alpine Federation with the win, able to push their way into second place behind Pyrenees, knocking out the United States. And they're level on points, they're level on goal difference. One can only assume that the next tiebreaker, goal scored, is what did it. But Alpine Federation, that second goal from Alessandro Del Pirlo, how important could that have been? So we'll recap the final results. Of course, Pyrenees Union victorious. We saw the Alpine Federation with that win over the United States to punch their ticket. That means that Pyrenees and Alpine advance from Group C. Then in Group D, of course, we had that match we just saw. West Africa and Benelux 4-4. Ultimately not of consequence. But then East Africa defeating the British Isles to join Benelux in the knockout stage. What a series of matches this was. Group C and D now decided. Tune in later for Groups A and B, but for the moment, 5 teams have punched their tickets. Who will join them in our final match day? Well, we hope you'll join us for the conclusion to Groups A and B a little later on. Until then, this has been Metafiction. Take care.